Okay, you're good.
Back in the old days. All right, where did I leave off? I'd like to call to order the council meeting for September 2021. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Concord asked if the council asked if anybody is recording the meeting, if they would state so now. I see none, so we'll keep moving right along. Would also like to add that earlier this evening, council met in executive session to discuss a real estate and a personnel issue, just so the record notes that. First item on the agenda is the approval of the public meeting minutes of the August 3rd regular meeting. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes? Do we have a second?
Second motion.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is the total expenditures for the month of $1,039,180.78, made up of an August payroll of $144,281.74, current bills totaling $347,859.65, and current sewer bills totaling $547,039.39. Do we have a motion to pay those bills and make those expenditures?
Moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We will move on to monthly activity reports. First activity report is the Pennsylvania State Police. I think I see our trooper here this evening. If you would come up to the microphone, and the program is yours at this point.
Good evening, everyone.
How are you?
Can you hear me?
Oh, you can really hear it now. I'm going to
Loud
be
and
loud.
clear.
Whew. Okay. Apologize in advance. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to go over some of the township incidents that I share monthly with all of you this evening. So for traffic-related incidents that occurred in the township, crashes, we had a total of 52 that occurred in the township. Now, 52 that consists of what's called reportable crashes, which are crashes with injuries and the vehicle needed to be towed, or what's called non-reportable, which are crashes that do not have injury, like your less severe crashes. Okay? We had a total of 6 DUI arrests, proactive arrests in the township. Traffic stops, we conducted a total of 94. And then as far as our criminal-related incidents, we've had 1 burglary that occurred in the township, which I'm going to share with you all this evening. A little bit of the details regarding that incident that PSP handled. We had a criminal mischief case. We had 8 thefts occur in the township, 8 retail thefts, and we had 5 theft cases involving identity theft and fraud cases. So let's talk about the incident that occurred on August 9th. That is the burglary that I mentioned. So on 9/04 on that date, we responded to 3427. It was Garnet Mine Road in the township. We responded to a report of an unconscious female. She was in the passenger seat of that vehicle. And once we made contact with her, we got her medical attention to be further evaluated. During that time, we developed indicators of criminal activity on scene, and we queried that female's license and found out that she was wanted out of Philadelphia. Further investigation, while on that location, troopers observed there was forced entry at that residence. We observed a white male, later identified as Matthew Hicken. He was donning a black ski mask and had black gloves on, which was indicating that he wasn't there for a lawful purpose. At that point, we tried to make contact with that male, and he fled on foot. At that point, he was surrounded by us. We tried to give him verbal commands to surrender and failed to do so. We successfully deployed a taser to be able to take him into custody, and that vehicle was towed back to State Police Media upon conclusion of a search warrant. So we had our forensic service unit come out to that location and conduct an investigation, and that individual was then arraigned and given 10% bail, which he was then transported to DCP, Delaware County Prison. Now, on August 11th at 11:27, we conducted a traffic stop at Wilmington Pike and Smithbridge Road in the township. Once we made contact with that operator for traffic violations, we found that that subject was under the influence of drugs, and he was in possession of suspected methamphetamine. He was taken into custody, submitted to a blood draw, and was released. So that was one of the DUIs that we had in the township. And then on August 17th, at 12:47, we responded to an incident at CVS right on Baltimore Pike. There was a pedestrian that was struck by a vehicle at that location. Fortunately, she was okay. Anna Whitehead, she was attempting to exit her vehicle through the drive-through area, and once she was trying to do that, she realized she still had the car in drive and went to hit the brake and hit the accelerator at that point, pinned her leg between the vehicle and the drive-through wall. EMS was fortunately able to free her, and she was able to be transported to the hospital without serious injury, fortunately. And then on the 21st of August, we had an incident occur at Wegmans. We had a 22-year-old male by the name of Thomas Worth. He was found exposing his genitals at the Wegmans location. He was actually found masturbating inside the aisle at Wegmans, and we actually had video surveillance from that store to confirm this, and it was found that he later did this in different areas throughout Chester County as well. We executed an arrest warrant on Worth, and he was subsequently transported to Media, where he was then processed and arraigned. We conducted a total of 55 active patrol checks throughout the township of schools, places of worship, and shopping centers. And then I'm happy to report on August 6th, we had 91 troopers graduate the academy. So out of the 91, PSP Media got 5. So that's 5 more people to patrol that we could dedicate towards the township incidents that happened. And last but not least, a lot of talking. Last but not least, we just want to make sure everybody's made aware of the Megan's Law scams that are occurring throughout the state. Unfortunately, we're getting callers that are targeting the Megan's Law registry via telephone, stating to them that they are violating their registration requirements, and that the only way they could be resolved is through some type of form of cash payment. That is not true. PSP will never, ever, ever, ever ask for a cash payment at any time. So that information could be found on our website to get further details regarding that. And if anybody has any details regarding these scams, are asked to report that to us. And Megan's Law registrants are asked to make sure that they follow the Megan's Law section, and their telephone number is listed on the website if anybody has any questions. And we are also having a child passenger safety seat event for any parents, grandparents, guardians that need their car seat either checked and or installed. That's going to be happening on the 25th of September from 9 a.m. to 1 at the Rocky Run YMCA in Baltimore Pike. You guys could just show up there, no appointment needed. And information for that is outside on the table. And then with that being said, anybody have any questions they would like to ask? Anybody?
I'm good. Glad to hear you have 5 new troopers, and
Yes.
we have excellent service from the state police, and I guess with the additional troopers, we'll have even better service. So thank you for your time and your efforts, and thank you for coming out this evening.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along in the agenda. Next is the SOAR Department report. Dana, I think you have that.
Yes, thanks, Mr. President. So this was prepared by our Assistant Manager, Terry Grant. So both the main plant and Riviera plant continue to meet discharge requirements within the parameters of the NPDES permits. The operations staff performed 15 lateral inspections for resale certification during the month of August. The Beaver Valley Road Sewer Project is now complete, and the main plant pump upgrade project bids were opened with recommendation to award to take place at the next public meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Building and Code Enforcement, I have Mano's report here. There were 12 building permits, 4 plumbing permits, 14 mechanical permits, 12 electrical permits, 3 fire code permits, and 1 standalone zoning permit, and 1 temporary outdoor dining permit. That would have probably been before it was rescinded, for a total of 48 permits. That was August, oh, wait a minute. That's August 2020. How come they put them on the wrong side of the page? Wow, I feel like an idiot. Building permits, 22 permits. Plumbing, 14 permits. Mechanical, 7 permits. Electrical, 9 permits. Zoning standalone, 2 permits, for a total of 64 permits. There were 19 resales in Concord Township certificates and 13 new certificates of occupancy. Planning Commission, we have their comments here. They did meet on August 16th, and they reviewed the mini plan, and the rest of their report is made part of the record. The solicitor, you.
Thank you. With respect to Concord Ventures has filed their appeal brief from the Concord Township denial of the PRD development plan. The court has instructed both the township and the interveners to file responsive briefs on or before November the 4th. This past month, Concord Ventures filed yet other motions. There was a notice of deemed approval file and a mandamus action regarding the same PRD land development application. Both the mandamus and the notice of deemed approval are based on the same erroneous allegations, and the township today has filed preliminary objections in response to the mandamus. The township response can be found on the township website. Also, any persons withstanding may appeal the notice of deemed approval by filing a notice of appeal on or before September 16th, 2021. Thank you.
Okay, Township Engineer Nate.
Good evening. Just a few brief updates. First, the annual road program is substantially complete. We've got a handful of striping issues remaining that are being addressed this week. Second, I did provide staff here at the township over the weekend the initial draft of the recreation open space plan update for some staff review. So we were hoping to have an update at the October meeting to wind that project down and finalize that document. Additionally, we've been working with Public Works and working with the township. We should be opening the trails at the Hall site, also known as Hillsborough. Hopefully in the near future, we'll find a date. But I was out looking at those trails this week and they look great. So that'll be another site for residents here, especially this fall, to get out and recreate. And then last, knock on wood, we were very fortunate here in Concord in Hurricane Ida. The event was not as significant as it was kind of north and west of here. So fortunately, it was not as crazy as last August storms, but a lot of the other communities we work with and in the area did get hit very hard with that storm. But Public Works was on top of it, and nothing of significance to bring up tonight. That's it.
Thank you. Township Manager Amanda.
Oh, there we go. Thank you very much. He took a little of my thunder there, so that's fine. But I'll just report out, we have a lot of exciting things coming up this fall. I know they're mentioned in the back of the agenda. I just wanted to point out, with council and our Park and Rec Department board's leadership, we have some great things. Community Day is coming up in the next 2 weeks here. We have an arts festival that's brand new that we're really excited about for Delco Arts Week. We have a senior expo coming up, and Recycle Day we're doing. Council has directed us to do another tree giveaway again, and folks really loved that. A lot of the residents came out for the trees and to get rid of some paper shredding or whatever else they had electronic-wise. So we're really excited about that. I just want to give one caveat. Obviously, we all know COVID is still hanging over us, so we post all information on our website up to date. So if you are attending any event, please check, because there could be just some nuances depending if there are any requirements or anything we need to adhere to that could affect some of the minor parts of that event. So I just want to remind folks to be paying attention, and we'll make sure we update social media and our website accordingly.
Okay, any questions?
Yeah, Amanda, could you give us an update on the status of the audit? I know that we've had some delays waiting for some final information back from the state of Pennsylvania, and we would typically have that by this time.
Sure, absolutely. So normally you guys are used to me giving a little presentation in September on the audit and how great it was. So right now, a lot of municipalities across the state are being held up. We're in the Pennsylvania Municipal Retirement System, and we're waiting on those, which is GASB. It's a finance term, but we're waiting on our numbers from that organization, our audited pension numbers, in order for them to incorporate them into our final financial statements. So we are 98% there. Everything is great. We actually have already reported our numbers to DCED as of March to make sure that our general operating and those financials have all been looked at, but we have to wait for the pension component because it does affect our full financial audit. So we actually have been reaching out to them since the beginning of summer. We just got notice about a week ago that we should have it in 2 weeks, so I'm hoping that by next week we should have that. The state seemed to be having some issues with IT rollout that they must have had, and staffing like the rest of the world for anyone who has any businesses. So, but we hope to have that done and ready to go, and then I'm hoping in October to have a brief little presentation on how great the audit is, and we hope to have those financial statements fully done by the auditors and up by the end of September at the latest.
Fantastic. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move right on to public comment. Anyone with any comment regarding anything on the agenda this evening, they would please come forward. We would need your name and address, please. Okay. Dave? Yeah. Go ahead.
Taller than
Dave, before you start, I want to acknowledge we did receive an email from you earlier today, I think regarding Friday it was, about the Schoolhouse Lane and a couple of points that you wanted to make sure were part of the record based on that meeting we had, I guess it was a week ago tonight.
The record isn't as significant. I think I directed them at Councilmember Rankin. I would like to have a human interaction, one-on-one potential dialogue, or at least some response to the items in the meetings. And I was at the meeting last week, and I felt a little underwhelmed at the consideration over time at the same comment, particularly the deceleration lane comment that I originally introduced last fall and followed up. I think I forwarded him an email from January. My disappointment is the lack of responsiveness. I came to both events where you had the you hired some contract group to help you listen. The one at the township industrial facility and the one at Bethel Park. So you can put them in the record. I, as a citizen, would like to believe that the people that represent me have a minute at some point to engage with me as a citizen. And also within the meeting, the multiple meetings brought the same things up. It seemed like you were more responsive to the guy that was worried about U-turns, and we're jumping all over that. But the repeated follow-ups I didn't hear from. That's all. Let me go ahead and go on with my public comment. If there's some way to clean it up, Ms. Rankin, if you have the time and you're available, come talk with me, come talk with my wife. Give us the opportunity to be citizens and show you what we're thinking. That was the point of the email directed specifically to you. You can enter it and discuss it in the record how you see fit. My name is David Cleary. I live at 72 Schoolhouse Lane. Quick request on the recycle day. My son Michael thinks recycle day is the coolest thing in the world if you can fit him in. I know that he's not in any groups at the high school you normally attract folks from, so I'm trying to insert him on the list through a non-standard path. So just consider him as a potential volunteer for when you do that. The other thing I wanted to bring up, we're coming up on the eve of the 20th anniversary of 9/11, and we have a memorial right outside the library and right outside the, the garage facility. And I'm disappointed that Concord Township didn't just fund it. The township's well thick in funding. And instead, the concept was to sell ad space, sell billboard space on it. There the other day, there's a brick for the Birds and Bees, which my understanding is an adult entertainment fantasy store. You're hitting up veterans, first responders to pay for a brick to get next to those kind of things. I think, and I don't know where the corrective path is, but as we look at, if that the intent was to recognize people that serve in different capacities since 9/11, I'm disappointed that the township didn't help fund that project, and instead it was marketed to whoever wanted to buy billboard space on it to advertise. It really downplayed what the intent of the Hero Memorial was outside the Rachel Cole Library. At this point, you sold so many bricks to people like the Birds and the Bees, I don't know how you get it back on track. The one thing I'll close with, I've had the chance to participate in the Marine Corps Marathon 5 times since 9/11, 2014 timeframe. Some group, no credit to them, you can't really find out how to do it, created what they call the Blue Mile. They have yard signs for somebody that was killed in action in either Afghanistan or Iraq, about every 20 feet for the 12th mile of the run. It's called the Blue Mile. And there's usually 150,000 spectators on the course. This 1 mile is in a remote location, hard to get to, not near the subways. So they put in a real effort to identify the people that we really want to remember. And it's incredible. It's an incredibly moving tribute. Not sure how we get Concord's memorial, never going to be at that level, but the Birds and the Bees and a lot of the other stuff there is counter to what the purpose of the memorial. I just wanted to bring that up as we look coming up this week as we remember 9/11. And really, the Blue Mile is about remembering all those that went off to serve and what to them was understood to be protecting us from another 9/11. That's all I had.
Thank you, Dave. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Gene Goebel, 7 Quaker Lane. Wondering why on this month's agenda for old business, the property tax issue that was last month's has fallen off.
Do you have any recollection on the property tax issue from last month? We have had conversations with the school district. Maybe you can tell us where we are with them?
Yeah, we've had conversations with the school district. The school district has conversed with the township. The school district has engaged the Coyle Lynch firm, one of the premier appraisal valuation firms. Has done work in Delaware County for years, has done work for the county, does work from the majority of the school districts. And I have discussed with the school solicitor some of the recommendations and some of the data provided by Coyle Lynch, and that's where it stands at this point.
So nobody from the township has touched base with the county yet. This was a prior motion a couple months ago.
Excuse me?
Nobody from the township has touched base with anyone from the county.
No, the school district is going to take the lead on this, as we've, excuse me, Mr. Goebbels, we've explained before.
Yeah, I understood that as far as the amount of tax. I think the problem is not an assessment issue, it's a classification issue, where even though the township collects the small portion of the funds, they completely control the accuracy of the data. and some things are just wildly off. To go back to Mr. Pileggi's property on Patricia Lane. In June, he said he received an assessment of $157,000, February 28th of 2020, and that he did nothing until he paid his bill in 2020 when his assessment came in at only $32,000. The county, in writing, has rejected Mr. Pileggi's claim. Their position is Mr. Pileggi had an informal review of his property along with 9 of the other 10 properties he owns in the county. And Mr. Pileggi got it reassigned as a non-building lot, which is what drove the assessment down. Not an assessment problem, it's a classification problem.
Gene, if I could answer that question?
Not a question, it's a statement.
That's a statement, but I would like to talk to those people at the county because that did not happen. I did not even appeal that tax.
They said it was...
Well, they're wrong.
It's the only one you didn't appeal.
They are wrong, and if they want to fix it, they know how to fix it.
But...
They are wrong.
Correct. And sir, I believe you were wrong to knowingly pay tax on something that is assessed at $32,000 that you know
the
is worth
responsibility for
multiples.
setting the assessment is by Delaware County. They were wrong. I told you they also assessed another property of mine in Trainer that's worth $7,500 for $131,000. I'm appealing that.
Correct.
They made a mistake. I am fixing it.
Did that.
They made a mistake. They should fix their mistake.
And sir, they did not assess it at 131. They assessed it at 109. Is that the property, sir, is the property 3207 West 9th Street?
Yes, sir.
And you also own the property right next door, 3209
Yes, I do.
9th Street, which is leased by Enterprise Rental.
Correct.
And oftentimes assessments are based on revenue. So the fact that you own the lot next door, under 9 doesn't strike me as wildly out of bed. Where did you get the 12,000 number? May I ask that?
Pardon?
Where did you come up with the 12,000?
12,000 for what?
For 3207 West.
7,500. I had an appraisal done on it. I paid an appraiser to appraise it at $7,500.
Okay. All right. Didn't come from the county.
The appeal has been filed.
Okay, but you didn't file an appeal when it was first done.
I'm done talking about this.
Okay.
I did nothing nefarious. I did nothing. The problem is on the county side, and I'm not talking about this anymore. Thank you. Again,
for the record, in writing from the county, you had an informal review with Tyler Technologies and got the property reassessed as a non-building lot. Is it your opinion that it's a building lot? Patricia Lane?
Yes, it is. It has always been a building lot.
I agree.
I bought it as a building lot. It was never a residual leftover piece of property. It has a sewer connection. It has a water service on it. Why would it have those things if it's not a building lot?
According to the county, that came from you. That's why the assessment went from 157 to 32.
A lot of things have changed in that county in the last year, and not for the better, because there was never this problem before.
My last issue is 711 Concord Road. Why does the cited floodplain issue get put off month after month, year after year? The rains we had last week did impact Newland Gristmill Park. It takes 2 inches of rain for those illegal flood diversion berms to move water from 7-Eleven to the park. Got information on the township website about sediment problems in our streams. You know, if we just follow our rules, it might help to some of that instead of the township having to look to the state and federal governments for relief. Why does that keep getting delayed?
Do you have a question? You can answer that, because isn't that part of some other issues?
The matter is before the zoning hearing board. The zoning hearing board has granted the continuance. You should take your complaint up with the zoning hearing board.
No, sir, it's been before the board for over a year. They don't continue in a vacuum. They look to this council and yourself for blessing to push it off and off and off.
Mr. Goebel, it's been explained to you in writing that a survey is being done by the 7-Eleven folks together with the gristmill
I've
entity.
heard that for years.
No, well, hasn't been going on for years. I'm just telling you what's going on. And you don't have to scream, Mr. Goebel.
2006.
I'm just giving you facts, Mr. Goebel. That's what's going on. That's what's happening as we speak. You may not like it. You've had an ongoing dispute with these folks, and that is fine.
At some point, it's a dispute with the township because you're not acting per your code. Thank you.
Seeing none, we will move on in the agenda. Next item on the agenda is the, is that right page? Resolution 45 of 2021. Oh, I'm sorry. I got a little off script here. I apologize. Under old business, Schoolhouse Lane and Baltimore Pike intersection safety improvements. We had a meeting here last Tuesday night on the 31st where we had discussed this issue. We had representatives from PennDOT. We had Representative Craig Williams. We had our township engineer here. And we had people from the area, and we explained to them where we were with this project. I think as part of that discussion, PennDOT made it very clear that we would not be getting a traffic signal at that intersection. It did not meet their warrants, which are required for a light. I don't know if any of my colleagues have anything else they want to chime in on.
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to say a few words. I've been a champion of that intersection since that accident happened Christmas Day, I believe it was. That, in my opinion, a traffic signal would help the situation. However, after many, many months of discussions and meetings with PennDOT, we were told that it does not qualify. However, there are some recommendations that our engineer came up with. PennDOT did allude to those. We also had a suggestion from the public as far as some improvements. And I guess the next step would be to have our township engineer give us an estimated cost of each of these items so we can prioritize them and get something moving. Whatever improvements are made at this intersection are going to be on the township's dime. So PennDOT will not participate in funding any of these improvements, to the best of my knowledge. Also, two other intersections were discussed, Cheney Road and Baltimore Pike, about some turning arrows, and Stony Bank Road and Baltimore Pike with the same issue, trying to take care of that whole quadrant, that total area of the township that would come out onto Baltimore Pike. So that's about where we are. I think the board needs to prioritize some of these improvements, whether we can do them soon or whether we have to put them into our budget for next year. So I'd just like to thank our engineers for all their hard work, PennDOT, and also Craig Williams for coming and helping us come up with a solution. So hopefully we'll get there. It might take a little bit of time, but we'll get there. That's all I have to say, Mr. President.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. President. Excuse me. I know our top focus is on the safety of that intersection, and I think that there were a lot of great suggestions that came up at that meeting, both from the township engineer and from the public. And there are two that I think can be prioritized that have no cost to us right now to be able to at least do some more immediate improvements to that intersection. There was a resident that mentioned that there was some vegetation that was obstructing some of the sight distances. And I believe PennDOT said that they would take that on themselves to help improve that intersection by taking some of that vegetation back. And I think we should, make sure we formally request for them to do that as soon as possible. And the other one is reaching out to the prison to at least get on their calendar to talk about some of these suggestions and improvements that we're looking to do along these intersections, and to encourage the participation of the employees of the prison to make sure that they're obeying the speed limits and not utilizing township residents' neighborhood roads as cut-throughs. So I think if we can get started on those two, they don't cost us anything, and it will start putting some emphasis on some additional improvements while we're getting the information on the cost of some of the other major improvements to help that intersection.
Okay. What's
I did.
everybody, Benita, did you want to add something? Go ahead.
I just wanted to add that based on PennDOT guidelines, there are warrants that are required for a traffic light, and I understand that they did look into it. We unanimously felt, all of us, that traffic light would have been the best solution. Although it is not there, we would be looking into if we can make it as safe as possible for all of our residents.
Very well said. I guess we would need to, Mr. Donahue, we should make a motion to direct the solicitor to put some sort of cost to each of these items for future review. The engineer?
Sure, a simple motion would be.
Okay, do we have a motion to direct Nate to?
Also move, Mr. President.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, Nate, you got your work cut out for you. Under new business, Resolution 45 of 2021 is a resolution of the Concord Township Council approving the transfer of a restaurant liquor license R10092 into Concord Township from Lower Chichester Township. Whereas Thang Long Inc., owner of Koi Restaurant at 391 Wilmington Westchester Pike, is requesting the transfer of a liquor license to that facility. There was a public notice and a hearing held on August 10th, 2021 at 7 p.m., at which testimony was given and questions were asked on behalf of council. The hearing was closed that evening, and we are going to read into the record a proposed resolution. It would be approved subject to the following conditions.
Mr. President,
Yes.
if I may, also following the resolution are the findings of fact and the decision with respect to the public hearing, and simply put, and that will form the basis for the resolution, and the decision was that the application should be granted with certain conditions imposed.
Okay, I'll just read the conditions. There's only 9 of them quickly into the record. The applicant shall conform to all rules and regulations of the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. Number 2, all of the applicant's employees involved with the sale and/or dispensing of alcohol beverages are required to undergo ramp training. Number 3, applicant will apply for and abide by the terms of all required Concord Township's permits and licenses. Number 4, all sales of alcohol will end at 9:30 p.m. every Monday through Thursday and Sunday. The sale of alcohol will be permitted for 1 additional hour until 10:30 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. Number 5, bar seating is limited to 10 chairs or stools. Number 6, no outdoor bar is permitted. Number 7, signs shall be displayed at all times advising customers that no alcoholic beverage may be served or consumed outside the establishment. Number 8, no takeout alcohol will be sold by the applicant at any time. And number 9, each of these conditions shall run with the license unless modified by the Concord Township Council by subsequent resolution of Concord Township Council. Do we have a motion to approve that resolution?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I had one question.
Sure.
With regard to condition number 8, no takeout alcohol will be sold by the applicant at any time. I know that during the hearing, the applicant noted that they didn't have any intent at the moment, at the current time of doing that, but I know that the Pennsylvania legislature recently passed a law allowing that in general. Do we, while it may not be their current intent, do we need to restrict it with this approval, as opposed to just leaving it up to them as to whether or not they wish to do that? Because if we didn't expressly prohibit it, it would be allowed, just like it is for any other establishment.
That's a very keen observation, Mr. Crossan. You're correct. The Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board does allow the sale of takeout. At the same time, the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board does allow the township to impose reasonable conditions. In the past, with many of these applications, we have restricted the takeout portion. It's up to council as to how they want to proceed. Maybe what should happen in this situation is let the conditions stand as may, and then if the applicant feels it's necessary that this is something he needs to do, he may have to explain that to council, and then we can put the necessary precautions, or at least incorporate those precautions obviously, the reason we put that in some of our approvals is just to prevent people from coming over the state line at, after hours when the bars close in Delaware just to get takeout 6-packs and wine or whatever it's going to be. So that's why we've done it in the past, but it's up to council.
My recollection was during the hearing, we asked that specific question, and I don't think the applicant had a problem with it, the restriction against outdoor serving, selling, for takeout. And that's why I think we've put it in all of them, and I think if they wanted to modify it in the future, we could probably do so then. What's everybody else think?
I
Or just
agree with that.
leave it the way it is? I agree to leave it the way it's written. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those, go ahead, John, you got anything else?
No, it's fine.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Conditions acceptable to the applicant? Thank you. Good luck with your project. We enjoy your restaurant, and good luck. Thank you. You too. Next is resolution number 46, which is the Meany subdivision. Do we have that? We can, okay. Go ahead, Nate.
All right, we're good. So up on the screen here, guys, I have the Meany subdivision. This is a 2-lot subdivision. Each lot's going to end up being about 1.4 acres. These are undeveloped lots. This is literally on the southwestern border of the township. It's adjacent to the First State National Park on the south side of Beaver Valley Road, a state road. The applicant is looking to build 2 lots here. The applicant is here this evening. You can see on the plan, there's a lot here in the back. That is the lot that will be built essentially first, but they've also laid this out so there's a property, a lot in the front. That'll be a second house there in the front. They've gone through the review process with Delaware County. It's been reviewed by my office, the fire marshal, the sewage enforcement officer, and it is pending with PennDOT currently. They are proposing on-lot sewage. They are proposing wells. It will require a permit from PennDOT for the access to Beaver Valley Road. Otherwise, this is a very straightforward, simple 2-lot subdivision on the southwestern corner of the township, and I can certainly answer any questions anybody might have on this project.
Is it proposed that both houses are being developed at this time, or is this just the subdivision?
As I understand it, the subdivision will be creating 2 lots, but their intent is to build one lot at the current time and save one for future development.
Would that be to develop the back lot or the front lot? The back. So that I'm clear too, the Meany family is a long-standing family in our community, and so your intention is this is meant for family purposes. Yeah. And I only raise that because this is in the heart of Beaver Valley, which is, as we all know, the site of much discussion and contentious development. And but the Meany family has always been a very strong advocates of the work to preserve Beaver Valley, and this subdivision and development of these 2 homes is for their families, and happy to support it.
All right, let me take a stab here at the resolution. It'll be Resolution 46 of 2021. Nate recited where the property is located and the purpose of the plan. It would be subject to 11 conditions. Number 1, compliance with all comments contained in the Pannoni Review Letter dated August 6th, 2021, attached hereto as Exhibit A. Number 2, compliance with all comments contained in the Delaware County Planning Department letter dated June 18th, 2021, Exhibit B. Compliance with all comments contained in the Concord Township Sewage Enforcement Officer Review Letter dated July 9th, 2021, Exhibit C. Compliance with all comments in the Fire Marshal's email dated August 3rd, 2021, Exhibit D. A contribution to the Municipal Stormwater Control and BMP Operation and Maintenance Fund is required in the amount of $3,000, $1,500 for each property. Number 6, the deed for Lot 1 shall indicate that further subdivision is prohibited. Number 7, PADEP approval, planning module exemption for proposed on-lot sewage disposal system. If public sewer is determined to be required, amended subdivision and land development plans will be required. Number 8, specific landscape locations to be determined in the field with the township engineer to fill any gaps in existing vegetation as much as feasible per the quantity indicated. Number 9, signed, sealed surveyor certification of placement of monuments and pins must be filed with the township prior to recording the signed plan. Number 10, plans are to be submitted in electronic format acceptable to the township consulting engineer. Number 11, all deeds for the properties, legal descriptions, easements, and stormwater maintenance agreements are to be submitted for review and approval by the township engineer and the township solicitor prior to the release of the signed plans. They would be the conditions on resolution number 46. Do I have a motion to approve?
Moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are the conditions acceptable to the applicant? Thank you. Good luck with your project. And meanies, I think they were Archmere apparently? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I went back in the days of the dinosaurs when we didn't have women. Anthony, yeah. He graduated? Oh, yeah. I didn't know that. Yeah, he's working up in Philly now. He's, yeah. All right, I'll have to tell him. Anyway, good luck with your project.
I was going to have him.
Okay, I'm going to, while you're doing that, I'm going to hand item number 3 and 4 off to Mr. Crossan. It's regarding open space land purchases and the Featherbed Farm acquisition. John, so if you want to take those two, be resolutions 47 and 48.
Sure, thank you. So resolution 47 is regarding open space land purchase in general. And whereas Concord Township desires to obtain open space land both in fee simple and easements for the use and enjoyment of the citizens, and whereas Concord must and does obtain a certified appraisal of each parcel and easement which we intend to purchase as open space lands, regardless of the source of funds to be used for the purchase. Whereas Concord may, in accordance with state and local laws, pay only an amount equal to or less than the appraised value of the subject property being purchased or eased. Now, therefore, Concord Township resolves that the Concord Township Council shall obtain a certified appraisal of all properties or easements to be purchased as open space lands and shall pay only an amount equal to or less than the appraised value of the subject properties or easements. And Mr. President, I so move.
Okay, that is in the form of a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The next item is resolution number 48 of 2021, which is the regarding the Chetty property on Featherbed Lane. And whereas the township desires to obtain open space lands for the use and enjoyment of Concord Township citizens, and whereas the parties, Leon and Bernice Chetty, the sellers, and Concord Township desire to enter into an agreement of sale and grant an easement and declaration of restrictive covenants for the purchase and fee of approximately 8.6 acres of land and a conservation easement covering approximately 33.2 acres of land. The Concord Township has received an appraisal for the property being purchased in fee for a value of $450,000, and a copy of which is attached. And we've also received an appraisal for the conservation easement for the 33 acres, out of appraising the value at $1.3 million, a copy of which is attached. And whereas the parties have agreed to the purchase of the property by Concord Township for $450,000 for the fee simple and for the conservation easement of $1.3 million pursuant to the terms and conditions set forth in the agreement of sale and the grant of easement and declaration of restrictive covenants, which is also attached. And a public hearing was held on August 10th, at which time there was no testimony or evidence presented opposing such acquisition. Now, therefore, I move that the Concord Township Council accepts and approves the terms and conditions as outlined in the agreement of sale and authorizes the township manager to execute the agreement of sale in the form attached hereto as Exhibit C, and and to instruct the township professionals to conduct the necessary surveys and reviews in preparation to proceed to closing. Mr. President, I so move.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the open space locker is getting filled again, huh, John?
Yeah, this takes us up to a little over, I think, 75 acres that the township has preserved in just the last 3 years. And this really, as we stated back in July when we announced it, is one of the most significant and important open space acquisitions that we could undertake at this time. And while it's been 3 years in the making, this land will now be open and enjoyed in perpetuity.
It was targeted with the original Open Space Committee probably in the early 2000s, so we finally got this one done. All right, the next items 5, 6, 7, and 8. Mr. Gillespie, would you kindly handle them, please?
Certainly, thank you. We have a certificate of payment number 1 for the road program to AF Damon in the amount of $418,091.89 for all work completed to date. And the work is all liquid fuels eligible. Project's about 98% complete. And the only items remaining are inlet patching, line striping, and some non-liquid fuels eligible items. So we want to take one at a time? What do you think?
Why don't you do 6 and 7, because they're both certificate of payments. We'll do them, and then we'll do 8.
5, 6, and 7.
5, 6, and 7, I'm sorry.
Okay. Next one will be the certificate of payment number 1 to Greg Vietri, Inc., in the amount of $72,989.75. That's for electrical work on the sewer chemical building. This is the first and finally and only certificate of payment for Greg Vietri, who was chosen to perform the electrical work for the sewer chemical building. Our sewer engineer has recommended the final payment in the amount of $72,989.75. So we'll do those two and look for a motion for both of those.
Second motion.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, next one is a certificate of payment number 2 to McKinney for Beaver Valley Road, Matson Road Sewer Project. This is the second payment to that construction firm for extending the public sewer lines on Matson Road and Beaver Valley. Our sewer engineer has recommended the payment in the amount of $299,332.72. The work is now complete. We're holding 5% retainage. And the next one will be awarding bids for the main lift and EQ pump at the sewer plant. This is a bid award for the general contractor work to upgrade the project budgeted for the main plant. Our engineer has recommended JEV Construction for the work at a cost of $277,000. 4 bids were received on August 31st, and JEV is the successful bidder. And the other part of it is the award for the electrical contractor as part of the main lift and EQ pump upgrade project. Our engineer has recommended A.N. Lynch Company for the work at a cost of $182,000. 5 bids were received on August 31st, so that is in a form of a motion. Item 7, 8A, and AI and AII.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second motion.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the final one is a award for snow removal. Can't believe we're talking about snow, but this bid was received last week, I believe, and it's for snow removal services for November of 2021 to April of 2023. So it would be a 2-year contract. It's publicly advertised. We only received 1 bid from Dan Kelly, who was a previous contractor. Bid was opened on August 27th. Contractor has provided all necessary documents. In speaking with our Public Works Director, he feels comfortable with awarding the contract to Dan Kelly. So that's in the form of a motion for a 2-year contract to Dan Kelly for snow removal.
We have a second.
Second motion.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No financial releases. We have to accept the following application for review. Final minor subdivision plan, 668 Featherbed Lane. Do we have a motion to accept that plan?
Moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Under other council matters, John, you got something on Delaware County Greenway Grant?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So Delaware County has funds in their Greenways Grant Program. It was a $10 million fund. The Concord Township received funds for the acquisition of the Hall property a few years ago, and round 2 is open currently with new rules in place, which allow for us to apply for 2 projects, one for acquisition, and one towards planning. And we're also able to help sponsor a program with a third-party nonprofit. And so we're working on that third component, but I will hand it over to Nate to just briefly describe the 2 projects that we are applying for the grants.
Thanks, John. Yeah, so this is, again, this is a repeat of the previous grant round where we did receive a large sum of money for the Hall-Hillsborough acquisition. In this case, what we are looking at is applying for 2 different grants. One would be towards the conservation acquisition of the Chetty property on Featherbed Lane that we had talked about earlier tonight. And we would use the money towards that. It can be retroactive. The county is aware of our pending acquisition, so we are hopeful that'll be received well. Second, what we are looking to do is apply for funding to start the ball rolling on the Garnet Valley Greenway. And we would use that funding for some initial survey work, some initial permitting, some initial concept designs, and just maybe trying to get the Garnet Valley Greenway started in a little bit different format than Octorara. Octorara, we kind of got the money and then figured out where it was going to go. I think in this case, we're going to try and figure out where it's going to go, then get the money, get community support. So we're looking to do that grant there. And then, as you mentioned, we have reached out to several other community partners just to advise them of this opportunity. In that case, they would apply for the grant. We would be essentially their municipal sponsor to kind of facilitate with the county. So more to come on that. It's kind of a quick turnaround. It's not something these other groups do every day, but we have been communicating with them, and we will work with them. If there's something we can assist to help them apply for a grant as well, we'll do that. So tonight is just an update on that. What we'll do is at the October meeting, we will have resolutions to execute at the October meeting for everybody, and I'll have a little bit more concrete material on exactly the funds being requested and a little bit more detail, copies of the applications for everybody as well.
Would you be able to have the area that we're planning on to show up on the screen?
I can provide a little bit more detail on that in October. That'd be fine.
Sounds good. Item number 2, I think since our last public meeting, we had a resident request for PennDOT intersection study for shoulder use at Smith Bridge and northbound Route 202. Amanda, I remember reading that email, and I think there was some concern people using the shoulder basically as a dedicated right-hand turn lane. And I don't know, Nate, if you had a chance to look at it or what
Nate
we
can
can
elaborate.
Yeah, the short version is the complaint is if you're northbound 202, essentially in front of Brewster's, what's happening is vehicles are entering the shoulder to make a right-hand turn on the Smith Bridge Road. The question became, well, why don't we make that right now it's not permitted. So you're using the shoulder illegally to make that turn. The suggestion was, well, how about we approach PennDOT and make that a legal right turn lane? That's something we can do. That'll take time, that we can look at with PennDOT. Depending on the depth of the pavement, the asphalt, it can become a bigger project than people realize, but we can at least kick the tires with PennDOT. In the short term, I would strongly suggest that if this is something that is being observed, and we have observed it since this complaint came in, that we make sure the signing and striping is correct, to make sure that visibly you can't make that turning movement. And we would do that in the short term, and then we could pursue this with PennDOT in the longer term.
Yeah, that's been a pet peeve of mine for years. I see people doing it all the time. There's just not enough room, and I know there's been some accidents there. So knowing what we know, Nate, can we just go ahead and do the striping and signage, or do we have to get approval from PennDOT?
The striping and signage, I will have to get approval from PennDOT, but that won't be a problem. I'll make that happen, and we can get that installed pretty quickly. Do you want me to pursue the actual right turn lane going forward?
What's everybody think?
I do think that it would help to facilitate movement if folks can pull through there. But if we do that, I also I believe that there's no sidewalk in front of Brewster, so perhaps that could be something that could be part of a broader discussion there. As you know, because I know we've looked at the sidewalk connections up and down 202.
Okay.
See a lot of nodding heads, yes.
Yes.
So I think we need to make a motion to have Nate go ahead with this. I would. Okay, so I would entertain a motion to.
I so move,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
President.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, sounds good. Upcoming township fall events, Community Day is September 18th. New Arts Festival, Delco Arts Week, October 9th. Senior Expo, October 14th. Recycling Day, October 16th. Upcoming township meeting and events, Historical Commission meeting, September 9th. Zoning Hearing Board meeting, September 15th. September 17th, Sidewalk Picasso and Sand Art Competition. September 18th, Community Day, 4 p.m. to dusk at the park on Smithbridge Road. September 20th, the Planning Commission meeting, and September 28th, Council Agenda meeting, Bush Revision Closeout meeting. That was the one with all the meetings that I guess
Connect the
Mr.
dots.
Cleary mentioned. It was to connect the dots. You, or maybe Amanda, what do we know what's on the Zoning Hearing Board schedule for next month?
Road is supposedly on there.
Is that the only? Go ahead.
We normally get that information, like I have it in a schedule, and it's actually on our website right now, so
Okay.
we
Well, no,
list
my-
the applications before.
My concern is that the building at the corner of Doherty Boulevard and Baltimore Pike, which was the Race to Recovery, I understand they are coming in for some zoning relief to put a national daycare center in that building, be one tenant, one use. And I think they're going to need a couple of zoning variances. There's something to do with a driveway and I think a drive around the front of the building. And I was wondering if that's the case, when that comes up, perhaps at the meeting before that, council may want to look at that and maybe send the solicitor in support of a plan as opposed to being against the plan. If anyone remembers, when they opened the Race to Recovery, a lot of people in Fox Valley were very unhappy with that use. In talking to some of them over there, they think this would be a great upgrade over there. And depending on council, my colleagues' concerns or their opinions on how de minimis or not the relief is, maybe we want to send the solicitor in support of something. So just bringing it to everyone's attention.
It's
And,
on the website right now, the 3 projects that will be before them on September 15th.
okay, well, I don't think we can actually make a decision on that Doherty without seeing the plan. So
Yes,
I'm
so
just
they're being-
sharing it with everybody, but no, I would not want to ask.
It would certainly solve a lot of problems at that particular.
Yeah, no, but I think absent seeing a plan, I don't feel comfortable asking anybody on here to be in support of something. Anyway, maybe we could, maybe we could get the plan. When's that meeting? Can you maybe distribute the package to everyone so they can just look at it so they're familiar with it? And we won't have a meeting before then. I don't think we'll be sending the solicitor, but at least they'll know what we're talking about. My colleagues on the board, if that's okay with everyone. Okay? Sounds good. That being said, we take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify
Aye.
by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you for coming out. Sir, you were so patient.